So hello everyone, I am Shwetank and we are going to discuss a very pertinent issue. You must have seen it all around in past fortnight, almost 2 weeks. That is the cash for query question, or the whole issue pertaining the member of parliament from West Bengal, Mahua Moitra. Now that is all what we are going to talk about, Miss Moitra. That's it. Okay, the question is much more serious. The question is not about only an individual. The question is about the office. The member of parliament, as a member of parliament, she has been accused of getting undue advantages in return for allowing an outsider, a businessman, to frame some queries in certain fashion to have his benefit or maybe her benefits also. That has been the accusation. Okay, fine. So, but what has happened in wherever you are trying to read it upon, from whether from newspapers or from TV channels, all the places, you will get only one kind of a thing, that is Ms. Moitra has said something, or Mr. Hirandani said something, or Mr. Nishikant Dubey said something. Those things are not at all required, and as far as examination is concerned, they are not at all required whatsoever. So let it be, jane de usse, that is of no use to you. Okay, what you have to know is regarding the procedure, because the question has been mentioned, the question has been raised about asking a question in the parliament house by a representative, okay, of the people. So the more pertinent question is, you should know what is the whole process of asking a question by a member of parliament to the government representative, that is the basically cabinet ministers. Okay, what's the standard frame work under which the speaker regulates their working? What are the rule and regulation says about the role of the secretary general and the under secretary general in the Lok Sabha as well as the Rajya Sabha, basically parliament, both the houses. Okay, then if suppose this is not the first time someone is raising a question that a member of parliament has done something like this has happened in the past also. So under these circumstances, what are the guidelines of the ethics committee? Can a civil suit be filed against the member of parliament under these circumstances? All these things are something which is for your concern, which is concerned with when you are writing for the civil service examination, when you are specifically focusing on governance GS paper 2 also. Okay, so with that perspective you have to keep in mind. Now, so we'll start the discussion on the whole case, but we won't be talking about the exact people involved, because their role has been done. Okay, that is a process which will go on, and that for that you can watch the news channels, and that will help you with that thing. Over here we will be talking about, suppose that the very first question which comes to mind when you see for this whole, you talk about cash for query issue, you have to focus more on query and what are the different manner in which queries can be asked. In Indian Parliament. Right? That is the question which you and me and everyone regarding whenever you are talking about civil service examination has to be concerned with. So let's focus on this question. So there are actually 4 different ways or different situations or means, tools through which these questions can be asked. Number 1 is the question hour. Number 2 is the 0 hour. Questions can also be asked in the committees. Various committees are there. The question can be asked to the committees in the hearing of the committees, where member of parliament are also the members. And number 4, the questions can be asked during the no confidence motion. That is the final stage of a thing. Okay, it only comes when the final government, whether the government has to stay or go away or what has to be done, that question comes up, then this thing comes up. But anyway, we'll discuss about that. Let's discuss the very first, the question R. Okay, we'll start with the question R. And about the question R, let me tell you a few things. That in this, the rule and regulations are defined in this manner. There is a set of guidelines with respect from the side of the working business procedure for the Lok Sabha, as well as the guidelines provided to the speaker, so that speaker can command authority in the households. So both the things are deliberately and in action when question R goes on. Now how it works? So 15 days in advance, every person, whether it's a private member or any of the member, okay, from all the parties, they have to submit their question. The questions have to be very precise. They have to be, the members have to write it down that what their exact query is, from which ministry the query is, and all those things have to be pointed out. But still the question is not that big that every query can be taken up directly. So the process is that through a selection of chits, 15 questions are taken. Okay, 15 questions are taken up, and this is done by the speaker. Now these 15 questions are allowed to be asked in the question. Okay, now this is how this thing works. Now and these are called as asterisk or star marked question. Okay, now when we are focusing on these questions, the questions are then told to the respective ministries to whom the question is concerned in advance, and it is expected that the concerned minister will rise up in the house and answer the query in detail with all the information, set of information which he or she will have the time to collect. Okay, now after this question, then the member who has initially raised this question will get some two further question, which is called as supplementary questions. Okay, so in the question are every question comes with 2 supplementary questions. So that is also something you have to keep in mind. So basically, suppose if the minister said something that why the particular district or constituency is not getting a road when the money has already been allotted, suppose this question has been asked. The minister says that the money has been allotted and the work is going on, but in actuality maybe their work is not going on, and then the very representative has to get an opportunity to come up and raise up and say that no, the work is not going on. So for that purpose, these 2 supplementary questions are there. So now that is one technique of asking the question. Now the second technique is 0R. Now 0R is even more interesting. Now 0R is something which was not there in the Westminster model. So you will see that when we will be focusing on the Westminster model, we will not be getting to know anything about the 0R. So where the 0R thing comes in? Now, look, 0R is a Indian concoction, or has been developed by the Indian Parliament only, because it was seen in the working process of Indian Parliament that every day when the parliamentary process is going on, when the houses are sitting, they are in motion, everywhere there is something coming up, something is happening, and the member of parliament wanted to raise up the issue. Suppose something happened in the morning 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock the house is going into order, the member of parliament wants to raise up that issue which happened at 9 o'clock, but again going from question ask format, you need to put the question in advance 15 days, that is impossible here. So to resolve these kind of issue, 0R system has been evolved. Now when the 0R will be placed is no definite period. Even the 0R doesn't have a defined period of time. It's not like 1 hour long, 2 hour long. Depending upon the process, the speaker will then go and tell that okay, for next 2 hour, 3 hour, or even 1 hour or 45 minutes, we'll go into the process of 0. Okay, that's how it is done. So even in the 0R, in the morning, the notice has to be given to the speaker. and then out of all the notices, the speaker again, because again there are so many questions, so speaker will take up 20 questions. And in this case, because it has been done at such a fast pace that okay fine, you ask the question in 1 hour, so obviously the concerned ministry doesn't have time to prepare anything. So in 0 hour case, it is said that any of the minister who is present at the moment in the house can answer on the behalf of the government. And in the 0 hour case, the question is not targeted to any particular minister, any particular ministry, but the question is just asked in the house. It is expected that it is oriented towards the speaker, and then any of the cabinet rank minister or any representative of the government who is in the house will be allowed to answer the very question. And this is how these kind of issues are raised. Now, a lot of, because it's a very quick thing, it can, anything comes up in the morning, it has to be discussed in the house. These things happen in 0 hour period only. Okay, whether a question has to be asked or not asked, that is also in hands of speaker only, and that is again something one has to keep in mind. Now, after that, the other way of asking question, as I told you, is in the committees. Okay. Now, in the committees, you must be aware of that there is Public Account Committee. There are in total more than 23 different committees in Indian parliamentary system. Okay, and estimates committee is there. There is a committee on public undertakings are there. These committees are basically, they act as a forum. Now, we know it well that in past few years, the efficiency of Indian Parliament has not been as well. The houses has not been as well as it used to be in the past, and basically because of a lot of disturbances which happen. Many times someone says okay, we won't participate, something else happens, so all these things. Now, under these circumstances, the parliamentary committees are actually the places where most of the work gets done, because no cameras are there, so parliamentarians also try to reach a consensus and come up with a working pattern thing. Okay, so committees are actually some very important place where questions are raised, discussions do happen, and that is a way of working out the questions and the answers in that manner. So that is also a place where member of parliament raise up their questions. Now, after the committees, the fourth manner in which the questions are asked is basically during the no confidence motion. The interesting thing about the no confidence motion is the question being asked during the no confidence motion is the first thing first, that in the whole process of no confidence motion, you need to be aware of that initially, for even bringing up the no confidence motion, you need the support of 50 parliamentarians, okay, member of parliament. Now, once speaker, then it goes to speaker whether the speaker wants to accept that this resolution of no confidence has to be taken up or not. Suppose if speaker accepts, okay fine, let the process begin. Then during the process is going on, when this whole discussion is going on, that okay, the government has not able to fulfill the what their commitment have been, and they don't really have the numbers. When this discussion is going on, then in that process, if a parliamentarian wants to ask a question, they can ask a question. But again, the answer to these questions won't be coming anytime soon, because okay, obviously the no confidence motion is going on, so after their whole questionnaire, the resolution will be placed, and if the government loses the no confidence motion, there won't be any more government to answer the query. So that is also one thing. But yes, the question can be asked by the parliamentarian during the no confidence motion. So these are basically the 4 ways in which the questions can get asked. Now, in this particular scenario, the whole idea was about the login transfer. The login details has been given to the businessman, and it has been accused that the businessman was allowed to use those personal details of the sitting MP, and through that he could have asked questions instead of the member of parliament. Now, this is breach of parliamentary privileges. This is a breach of parliamentary privileges. Okay. And that is something which has to be discussed or raised up in front of the ethics committee. So we'll discuss a bit about the ethics committee and how all those things also worked on. Now, what all I'm telling you right now is basically just below this video you'll have a PDF file linked to it. So all the details, whatever I'm telling you, don't have to make a note simultaneously. Just listen to these things, and in the PDF file you'll have all the details, whatever I'm right now telling you. Now, the role of the Ethics Committee of Parliament is very important here. Because right now also, when this whole crisis is going on, it is the Ethics Committee which is looking up into the case. So that is where initially the Ethics Committee gets the report, they receive the complaint basically, and in this case basically the thing goes like, it's not like any random citizen of India can go and complain against the parliamentarian. The complaint has to be brought from another sitting member of parliament. In this case it was Nishikant Dubey, and then the parliamentary committee can decide that whether they want to look into it or not. That's their privilege. Now, so after initial review, they can decide to that they will look into it and they will start the investigation process, which has been done in this case. And then after the investigation, in this case, after investigation, in this case, they have now moved towards the hearing. Okay, they have now moved towards the hearing. Now, this is also something which is very interesting, because in this case, in the hearing process, they have started calling up people, and when the calling up people started happening, various stakeholders in this whole case, whether it was the MP Nishikant Dubey or the Supreme Court lawyer, I think so, Jai Anand Dehadri. Okay, Dehadri. Now, all these people, they went, they gave their statement in front of the committee. Now it with the committee to take the final call. Now, that's one part of the section. How the committee works. Suppose the hearing happens, and based on the hearing, then committee makes a report. Now, this report has to be tabled in front of the Lok Sabha. And then the decision will be taken that what can be done or what needs to be done. Okay, so that is something you need to understand. Now, one also need to understand in this specific case is this whole issue can create a lot of chaos, because we know how important is Parliament. Every hour which goes into these type of discussions can be a lot of good can be done for the whole country. Now, if these kind of issues are getting discussed, obviously a lot of other very important issues are going to be sidelined, and that is also a very big issue when such things happen. So parliamentary proceedings do get affected. Okay, and therefore we need to understand and discuss the effect on parliamentary proceedings. Effect on parliamentary proceedings, and whether it is disruption, whether it is diversion of time, whether it is impact on the functioning of various committees, because ethics committee also has a lot of other important things to do. Okay, then there is a much more bigger concern, that is the loss of public trust, because look, if once it has been established that the member of parliament are just asking question in lieu of money from businessmen, do you think the people will have any more hope and expectation from these people? And that is quite a big concern, that is quite a big issue. Now, political polarization also do happen, impact, and then effectively all this effectively impact the governance. Okay, impact the governance. So these things one has to keep in mind. Now, one also need to understand that suppose all these things happen, effect on parliamentary proceedings also happen, ethics committee also took their stance whatever they had to, and then there are going to be some legal implications also. And what can be the legal implication? Because you must be aware of this much, that whatever happens in the parliamentary house stays inside the parliament house. Okay, so what are the legal impact? So legally speaking, look, first of all, Indian Penal Code tackle these kinds of situations. Okay, the whole issue of bribery and corruption is directly tackled by Indian Penal Code, but the issue can go only in front of civil judiciary after getting permission from the speaker. So the process will be something like this, that the ethics committee will decide what will happen. They will submit their report and that will be tabled in front of the parliament. Parliament will decide then that what resolution will be passed. Then the speaker will take the final call that what needs to be done. And once if the speaker will find out that no, a civil suit has to be filed in this specific case, then IPC and any other issues will be get IPC or any other set of laws, whether it is Prevention of Corruption Act 1988, any other, because Civil Services Code will also be implemented here, because at the end of the day, Member of Parliament is also serving the state. So all those things have to be taken into consideration. Along with that, Representation of People Act 1951 also comes into play here. It is very, very, very important that you understand that effectively it is directly written in the Representation of People Act that any representative in this manner cannot take private gifts, not get benefited on the other side in lieu of getting some undue advantages to some specific individual. And that is the very fundamental thing which the parliamentarian has been accused of. So that is again something you have to keep in mind. So after this, you need to understand all these things, and then only you will be able to get some grasp of the issue. Now this issue has been very interesting because you need to understand, because most of the people are just roaming around the fuss, and the fuss is that what the parliamentarian stated, what the other parliamentarian stated, what the businessman or basically the business tycoon Mr. Hirandani stated, what whether there is some other business family or business tycoon or someone else is involved. It's a pretty spicy masala based story, but behind or underneath that masala based story, there's very specific peculiar legislative issues which need to be discussed both from the legislative side as well as from the ethical and legal side, and that is what needed to be discussed from the perspective of the examination for the civil service examination. That is what I have just told you. Now the details of whatever I told you, even for some 4 examples, are mentioned in the handout which has been just given through a Google Doc link below this video, so you can go through it, and that will be all from now from my side. Thank you and have a nice day.